Howdy folks, it's Charlie in Westeros here, and I am back with another video with some fun facts from Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire. Although I wanted to post some theories and predictions-based videos this weekend, they will have to wait for another week or two as I am finishing up some critical schoolwork at the moment. Once that is done, I will have a slew of videos coming your way this holiday season, so brace yourselves. As always, without further ado, here are 5 Stark fun facts from Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire you probably did not know. Starting with number 1, the other Stark Hand of the King. In spite of the fact that Winterfell is so far removed from King's Landing, it may come as a surprise to some of you that Ned wasn't actually the first Stark to function as Hand of the King. During the last days of the Targaryen Civil War known as the Dance of the Dragons, Lord Cregan Stark served as Hand of the King for the young Aegon III Targaryen. This short time period has come to be known as the Hour of the Wolf. What is interesting about Cregan is that, similarly to Ned, he seems to have truly valued honor and justice. Even though he supported the winning side of the Civil War, the Blacks, he nevertheless sought justice for the assassination of the rival claimant to the Iron Throne, King Aegon II, by arresting and putting on trial those who were involved in his murder. Though Ned's tenure as Hand was short, Cregan's was even shorter. He spent a total of 6 days at King's Landing, spending only 1 day as Hand of the King before returning north to live a long and seemingly peaceful life as Warden of Winterfell. All in all, not a bad decision considering the fate of his descendant who opted to remain at King's Landing and was killed as a result. Number 2, the evil Starks. In spite of their honorable demeanor in Game of Thrones, one mustn't assume that all Starks were necessarily good guys. Although we do know very little of them, House Grey Stark was a cadet branch of House Stark during the time when the Starks were still kings of the North. Based out of their ancient castle of Wolf's Den, these Grey Starks dwelt there for 5 centuries. Their existence ceased after they dared join House Bolton in open rebellion against the Starks of Winterfell, and were brought down by the king in the north at the time. Today, their old ruined keep has been converted into the prison of White Harbor, a city under the control of Lord Manderly. Now, if you are only a show watcher of Game of Thrones and aren't familiar with the Manderlys, well, you just might have ample opportunity to get to know this family in Season 6. Along with the fact that the dreaded Night's King might have also been a Stark, there was also apparently one historical Stark king known as Brandon the Bad. Why he was given this title is also still a mystery. Number 3, the Stark who arm wrestled for land. Although the Starks were originally just one of many families who ruled the vast lands of the North, they mostly expanded their territory through warfare and some marital alliances. However, the way in which the Starks of Winterfell are said to have acquired control over Bear's Island, now the seat of House Mormont, is truly a unique accomplishment. Legends would have it that the then king in the north, Roderick Stark, won Bear's Island in a wrestling match with an Ironborn king who controlled it at the time, and gave it to the Mormont family. As to why he chose that house, or if this legend is even true, however, has yet to be revealed. Number 4, Starks as Targaryen Loyalists. Unlike what transpired during Robert's Rebellion, the Starks were typically quite loyal to the Targaryens, or at least seldom engaged them in open warfare. During Aegon's conquest, Torrhen Stark, the last king in the north until Robb, was one of the few opponents of the Targaryens to willingly kneel before Aegon the Conqueror rather than fight the Dragon Lord, to the dismay of many Northmen as well as his own sons. In spite of this, no Northman was killed by Aegon I, nor were any of their swords collected to be twisted, melted, or bent into the Iron Throne. Although there was still some mild animosity towards the Targaryens for the first 100 years of their rule, the Starks never openly opposed their kings. During the Dance of the Dragons, one could argue that the Starks supported the rightful heir to the throne in Princess Rhaenyra, and eventually her son who succeeded as Aegon III. Following this event, the Starks were overtly much more loyal to the Targaryens than before, even sending military assistance for the Targaryens' expeditions, the most notable example being Cregan Stark's son journeying to Dorne in order to conquer it for the Targaryens. In short, there are no known instances of violence between the Targaryens and the Starks until the supposed abduction of Lyanna Stark by Prince Rhaegar, and the cruel execution of Lord Rickard Stark and his eldest son Brandon by the Mad King Aerys Targaryen. In fact, it just might be a result of this clean history between the Starks and the Targaryens, which could have made this event all the more shocking. Inevitably, Ned Stark, in alliance with Jon Arryn and Robert Baratheon, would end this apparent trust between the Targaryens and the Starks, at least until now. Number 5. The She-Wolves of Winterfell. When Game of Thrones opened in Season 1, we were presented with a relatively peaceful and prosperous North, in spite of the looming winter. Given the sweet nature of the Stark family we have come to love and mourn, it might be difficult to imagine some infighting amongst them. Alas, there was some internal issues some 90 years before the events currently taking place in the series. At the time, many Stark lords were killed by Ironborn attacks, a rebellion on the island of Skagos, and an invading wildling army led by the king beyond the wall at the time, Raymond Redbeard. As a result, a formidable group of 5 Stark widows of these recently killed Starks, also known as the She-Wolves of Winterfell, began quarreling amongst themselves in order to make their own sons Wardens of the North. Ironically enough, this is supposed to be the plot for the next Dunk and Egg tale, so perhaps our 2 adventurers will play a critical role in deciding the line of succession for House Stark, thereby averting a crisis which could tear apart the North, at least during their time. Well, folks, those were my 5 Stark facts from Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire you just might not know about. If you knew all of them, give yourselves a pat on the back, and if there are any other cool Stark facts you feel are worth mentioning, please let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, I'm going to end this video here. As always, thank you for listening and watching, and I will see you all next time.